Hello everyone. Today I will be presenting my project titled Pneumonia Detection from chest X-ray images using transfer learning and Grad-CAM explainability. Pneumonia is one of the leading causes of respiratory illness, and timely diagnosis is critical for effective treatment. This motivated me to explore how artificial intelligence can assist doctors in identifying pneumonia from chest X-ray images. So, going through what we will be looking into, as you can see on the screen, the table of contents is mentioned in the slide. I will be uploading the PPT and the code in the description section. You can go through it. All right, let's start the video and let's first look at the overall project objective. All right. The main goal of this project is to classify chest X-ray images as either normal or pneumonia automatically. Instead of building a model from scratch, I used a transfer learning approach with DenseNet 121, which has already learned useful image features from a large dataset. However, before training any model, it is important to understand the data on which it will learn. So let us first examine the dataset. So for this project, I used the chest X-ray image pneumonia dataset, which contains 5,863 chest X-ray images. The image belongs to two classes, normal and pneumonia, making this a binary classification problem. Since the quality and characteristics of data directly affect model performance, it is important to understand who these images belong to and how the dataset is organized. So as you can see on the slide, the dataset consists mainly of chest X-ray images collected from pediatric patients between 1 to 5 years of age. It contains approximately 1,583 normal images and 4,280 pneumonia images, which shows that the dataset is imbalanced towards pneumonia cases. Because of the imbalance and the medical nature of the data, careful pre-processing becomes extremely important before model training. Now let us see the tools used for the purpose. Okay, so to build the complete pipeline, several tools were used. Pandas and NumPy were used to manage the data. PIL and OpenCV were used to image processing. TensorFlow and Keras were used for model training, and Matplotlib and Seaborn were used for visualization. Among these tools, TensorNet 121 played the central role in feature extraction. There were many more tools like skitlearn and callbacks whose purpose I have stated in the slide. You can go through it. With the tools selected, the next step was preparing the data so that it could be effectively used by the model. So the raw medical images cannot be directly fed into a neural network. Therefore, I first checked for missing data, duplicates, and corrupted images. Next, all images were resized to 224 by 224 pixels while preserving their aspect ratio. The pixel values were normalized, and because DenseNet 121 expects three-channel input, the grayscale images were converted into three-channel representations. Once the data was cleaned and standardized, it was ready for model training. Before discussing the model, let us understand how we evaluate its performance in a clinical setting. All right. In healthcare applications, simply achieving high accuracy is not enough. For example, missing a pneumonia patient can have serious consequences. Therefore, metrics such as precision, recall, and F1 score become extremely important. Recall tells us how many actual pneumonia cases are detected, while precision tells us how reliable the positive prediction are. You can also go through the slide to know more about the metrics I have used. Moving on. So let's just go through the code to understand the model deeply. So as you can see, I started by importing the required libraries like Pandas, Matplotlib, Seaborn, Pill, and everything else. Then I have set the random seeds to ensure reproducibility, so the result remains consistent whenever the notebook is rerun again. Next, what I have done is I have loaded the data set, and I have loaded the training, validation, and test data set that's present in the Kaggle data set, as you can see here. Moving on, what I have done is I have done the exploratory data analysis where I have detected the total number of images by creating a dictionary, and I have also so you can look into it through my code. I will be uploading the code in the description box, so you can go through these exploratory data analysis. And then yes, I have if you can look here, I have done the labeling process where I have converted the pneumonia to 1 and normal to 0. as so the model cannot understand the text labels. Next, what I have done is I have done the data exploration, where you can see that the number of pneumonia patients are 4,273 and number of normal patients are 1,583, and the same is being depicted in this bar chart, as you can see here, number of normal patients and number of pneumonia patients. Next, what I have done is I have displayed the sample images, 5 sample images for each normal and pneumonia patients, so that I can see what the model will be training on. Next, I have done is data cleaning, where I have looked into the missing data, the duplicate data, and the corrupted images. Moving on, we have done the train test split, as the train test split provided in the data set was very imbalanced. As you can see here, the validation set was having only 8 files in normal patient and 8 files for pneumonia patient, which is too small. So I have done the train test split myself, where I have split the data into training, validation, and test set while maintaining the class proportion using stratification. Moving on, I have done the image pre-processing, as you can see here. So this one is the most important part. I converted the images to grayscale, resized them to 224 by 224 pixels, normalized pixel values between 0 and 1, and added a channel dimension so they could be used by the neutral network. Next, moving on, we will so here you can see, compare the original and the pre-processed image. Moving on, what I have done is data augmentation. So to improve generalization, I applied data augmentation techniques such as rotation, zooming, shifting, and horizontal flipping. This creates slightly modified versions of images and helps reduce overfitting. So as you can see here, what I have done. And yeah, then I have converted the grayscale to RGB. Since DenseNet 121 expects 3 channel input, I duplicated the grayscale channel 3 times to generate a RGB compatible image. And finally, moving on to the DenseNet 121 model, I used DenseNet 121 with ImageNet pre-trained weights. Instead of training from scratch, transfer learning allows the model to use feature already learned from millions of images. I removed the original classifier, added a custom dense layer dropout for regularization, and a sigmoid output layer for binary classification. So this, as you can see, what I have done. These are the convolution layers. You can go through it. So yeah, next what we will be doing is we will be compiling the model. So I compiled the model using the Adam optimizer and binary cross entropy loss. Because this is a two-class classification problem, I monitored accuracy, precision, recall, and AUC during training. Next, what I did was I handled the class imbalance. Since the data set is imbalanced, I used class weight so that the model doesn't become biased towards the majority class, which was the pneumonia class, if you remember from earlier. Next, what I did was I used callbacks. I used early stopping to prevent overfitting, reduce learning rate to improve convergence, and model checkpoints to save the best performing model. And yeah, so as you can see here, we are training our model. And yeah, after that, I have done the model evaluation. So after training, I evaluated the model on unseen datasets. We will be going through the charts in the slides later. So yeah, so after training, I evaluated the model on the unseen dataset, as you can see here, using accuracy, precision, recall, F1 score, ROC-AUC, and the confusion matrix. So yeah, moving on. What you can see here is a confusion matrix, about which we will be talking in the slides later. And then I did a single prediction, which you will see here. Yeah, so I did a single prediction, and I tested the model on an individual chest X-ray image and obtained a probability score indicating how confident the model was that the image showed pneumonia. You can see here the pneumonia probability was 0.0023, which means the chest X-ray is of normal person. Moving on to the Grad-CAM. To make the model explainable, I used Grad-CAM. It generates a heat map showing which region of the X-ray influenced the prediction the most. If the highlighted area are inside the lungs, it suggests that the model is focusing on medically relevant regions. So yeah, you can see here the Grad-CAM, which two we will be talking in the slides. Yeah, and the important thing is, for the Grad-CAM, I have used the last convolutional layer, which you can see is con5 block 16 concat, the last layer. And at last, we will be saving our model. So I saved the train model so it could be deployed in a Streamlit application for real-time pneumonia detection. Moving on, to achieve strong performance on these metrics, a robust model architecture was required, which brings us to the model design. The core of the system is DenseNet 121, a convolutional neural network pre-trained on ImageNet. Initially, the pre-trained layers were frozen so that the model could learn pneumonia-specific patterns through a custom classification head. After this initial learning phase, some of the dense net layers were unfrozen and fine-tuned using a lower learning rate to improve performance. Once the training improved, the next question was how well does the model actually perform? To answer that, we first examined the confusion matrix. So the confusion matrix shows that the model correctly classified 153 normal cases and 417 pneumonia cases. Only 5 healthy patients were incorrectly predicted as pneumonia, while 11 pneumonia cases were missed. This helps us understand not only the strengths of the model but also its limitations. While the confusion matrix gives us performance at a specific threshold, we also need a threshold independent evaluation, which is provided by the ROC-AUC curve. The ROC curve measures how effectively the model separates pneumonia cases from normal cases across different thresholds. The curve closer to the upper left corner indicates strong classification performance. The high ROC AUC score obtained here suggests that the model can reliably distinguish between the two cases. That means if we randomly pick one pneumonia patient and one healthy patient, the model has about 98.99% probability of assigning a higher pneumonia score to the actual pneumonia patient. Let us now summarize this performance numerically. So here, as you can see, the accuracy curve shows that both training and validation accuracy increases consistently during training, indicating that the model is learning meaningful features from the chest X-ray. The final training accuracy is approximately 97.7%, while validation accuracy is around 95.5%, resulting in only a small gap, which suggests good generalization. The loss curve show a steady decrease in both training and validation loss, confirming that prediction errors reduce over time. Although there are minor fluctuations, as you can see in validation loss, there is no evidence of severe overfitting. Overall, the curve indicates a stable learning and good model performance. The model achieved a ROC-AUC score of approximately 0.99 along with high precision recall and F1 score values. These results indicates that the model is both accurate and reliable for pneumonia detection. However, in medical AI, obtaining good prediction is only part of the challenge. Doctors also need to understand why a prediction was made. This is where Grad-CAM becomes useful. So the Grad-CAM generates visual heat maps that highlights the reason of the X-ray images that influences the model's decision. As we can see, the highlighted area corresponds mainly to the lung region, which aligns with clinical expectations. This explainability component increases transparency and builds trust in the model's prediction. Having deployed and validated the model, the final step was making it accessible through an easy-to-use application. So to make the solution practical, I deployed a Streamlit-based web application. Users can upload a chest X-ray image and receive an instant prediction and view the Grad-CAM heat map explaining the result. This demonstrates how the trained model can be deployed as a real-world decision support tool. Let's see a live demonstration of the web app. So as you can see here, we have already written our codes for the Streamlit web app. So you can go through my codes. Now let's deploy the Streamlit web app. We are putting the location where our main.py file is stored. Okay. So yeah, so it will take some time to open, and yeah, our model is running, loading as well. You can see. So yeah, this is our web application for our model. Where here you can upload the chest X-ray as well as you can use a sample X-ray too. So yeah, I will be using a sample X-ray for the detection. So the results will take some time to load. So yeah, here as you can see, the chest X-ray of the patient, it is detecting a pneumonia of 98.44%, means the person has pneumonia. And here you can see the Grad-CAM explainability, where it is showing that in which areas the model has detected pneumonia. So yeah, and yeah, after that it will be giving us a care guidance as well, where as you can see, it is showing that please consult a doctor immediately, and there are 3 to 4 modular tips which it is giving, like stay hydrated and rest and stay and all. Here you can see what are the sample x-rays we have used, and the raw score, decision threshold, and source which we are using. And at last, we have these, which will tell you about this dashboard and the instruction to how to use the dashboard. So yeah. Now that the complete workflow has been presented, let us conclude with the key outcomes of the project. Starting from the raw chest X-ray images, we cleaned and pre-processed the data, trained a DenseNet 121 based model, evaluated its performance using multiple clinical metrics, and explained its prediction using Grad-CAM. The results demonstrate that transfer learning can be highly effective for medical image classification. Moving forward, this work can be extended to large data sets, multi-class disease detection, and uncertainty aware predictions to further improve clinical usefulness. So this brings me to the end of the presentation. I hope you understood it and liked it, and thank you for being here and watching it. And have a nice day.